listening to Cosmic Cousins Soul-Centered Astrology for grounding that ass from all the New Age sass. I am your host, Jeff Hinshaw. Thanks for tuning in. Cosmic Cousins is a soul-centered astrology podcast that is dedicated to honoring the interconnectedness of our universal family through embodied health, self-discovery, and deeper learning. Special shout out and thank you to our Patreon supporters who make this show possible. And thank you for tuning in, as always. Oh my goddess, we are here in a new year. Happy 2022 to you. This is a lover's year. We'll get into that today. Happy Jupiter and Pisces to you. We're going to explore that as well today. And, as we cross the threshold into a new calendar year, it always feels like this time that we're gifted to shift our consciousness towards new themes for evolution. And just on a basic numerology level, we shift, 2021 to 2022. So this repeating number 2 feels special. It offers a message of encouragement and synchronicity for us. I have shared on the podcast before about my experience with a repeating number 2. It has led me to where I am today. I'm not going to get into that today, but let's be open to this repeating number 2 in this year and see what it might offer us. So there's this special message of encouragement and synchronicity. But 2022 also calls our attention towards the Lover's card in the tarot. And the way we get that, there's a collective card every year. Many of you know this. But the way that we get that is we add up the digits of the year. So 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 2 is 6, which is the Lovers in the tarot. And one of the traditional versions of this card, and it's evolved over time. One of the traditional versions, though, it shows 2 figures, and this is based off the Rider-Waite-Smith tarot. It's 2 figures that are standing completely in the nude, and they are not touching each other. There's space between them. And it seems that each figure represents a different aspect of life. One is a bit more nurturing. There is a tree with fruit that is behind one figure, and there's a garden snake. And then behind the other figure is a tree that is blazing. It's caught fire. So there's this question between masculine and feminine energies, between that which is inspirational and that which is nurturing and grounding. So there's a balance that's going on here. And then above these 2 figures is an angel that is blessing their union or offering some sort of guidance. But what I always find interesting in this card, and by the way, if you're new here, we always talk about the tarot. Tarot and astrology go hand in hand for me, and they're a big part of my practice. So I encourage you to get these cards out and to look along if you're working with the tarot. If you're just here for the astrology, this will also offer you some insight into the year ahead too. So these 2 figures stand across from each other, not touching, but they're vulnerable. They're exposed. And there's a sense here, and it's something that I always glean from this card, is when you look at the detail, the figure that is fiery, standing in front of the tree that's on fire, is looking towards the other figure that is more nurturing and grounding. But this figure that is maybe more down to earth, connected to their body, looks up towards the angel. So there is this invitation within the Lover's card for us in the new year, that it is through our active principle that we look towards the passive principle in order to reach the otherworldly or the spiritual. So taking the ambition of fire and grounding it through the earth and then going up towards cosmos. So in some way, it's taking our sun sign, going towards our moon sign, and then elevating towards our rising sign. This would be a way we could talk about it in astrology. But it is also the masculine going towards the feminine to reach the spiritual, or the that which transcends duality. So many different ways that we can look at it, and this is just my perspective, of course, so take what resonates with you. But if we can kind of yoke that, what seems to be the thread of a lover's year for us in the collective is that we'll all be on this journey together. And the lovers encourages us to drop out of our head and into our heart. So you can take a moment to just even do that right now. You know, the head could be the fire, the fiery tree, and the heart could be the body. So dropping out of the head and into the heart, and honoring and acknowledging the polar energies that live within yourself. And so we're inviting deeper self-love into our life in 2022. Communication is very important here. We're instilling a greater sense of harmony through our connection to nature and to spirit. And this year of the lovers, it feels like a sacred time to focus on and call in heart-centered relationships, whether that's with yourself, with others, or in community. So here's some questions I have for us to consider, and perhaps you'll journal about them as a initiation into the new year, or perhaps you'll pull a tarot card. But these are questions that are inspired by the lover's year. What messages of hope and inspiration are you ready to share and communicate with the world? What messages of hope and inspiration are you ready to share and communicate with the world? How might you open yourself up to the vulnerability of fully being seen by the other? In what ways are you willing to more deeply commit to loving and accepting all parts of yourself? So go ahead and bring an awareness to your chest and to your heart. Allow the palms of your hands to gently touch. And if it feels okay, close your eyes and breathe into your growing capacity to love and to be loved in new and supportive ways. Happy Lover's Year to you, and happy Jupiter in Pisces. The year 2022 brings with it a vast unknown. You can think of the ocean and the incredible potential for inspiration, healing, and closure. So this is all found through our meditation on Jupiter in Pisces. The dates for Jupiter in Pisces, this is December 28th, 2021, so just at the tail end of 2021. This is when Jupiter entered Pisces, and Jupiter will travel through this mutable water sign until May 10th of 2022. So the first 4.5 months of this year is Jupiter in Pisces. But then Jupiter will retrograde back into Pisces October 28th, and will stay there until December 20th, 2022, right at the December solstice. So roughly the last 2 months of the year. 4.5 months of the beginning year and 2 months of the end of the year, we have Jupiter in Pisces. And, you know, with Jupiter, Jupiter is religion, it is belief, philosophy. There's a sense with Jupiter of optimism and generosity and expansion. And Pisces, our collective water sign, is, it's connected to the end of cycles and to the collective's emotion. So this is a time of processing our emotions. And with Jupiter having recently entered this collective water sign of Pisces, it does feel like this first 4.5 months of the new year bring a tidal wave of swelling emotions. It is a time where the power of forgiveness is really amplified. is a sign of understanding, Pisces, and of karmic release. So we're all on this precipice of some sort of awakening with Pisces. And as the final sign of the zodiac wheel, Pisces brings with it sacred endings. So we are wrapping up a major 12-year cycle. It takes Jupiter approximately 12 years to travel around the sun. So a 12-year cycle is coming to a close, and it feels like that closure starts at the beginning of 2022. And then we move into something new, or there is an attempt to move into something new as Jupiter will enter Aries in the middle of May. But then there's a return. We're coming back to fully clear something now, or to fully receive the inspiration that we need before we fully move into 2023. So this is kind of the vast overview of the year. And I think that Pisces brings us into that vastness. So visions and awareness, this is Jupiter. Visions and awareness may take on a very wide and contemplative lens. This is Pisces. So spirituality, meditation, mysticism, prayer, and the arts. This includes photography, film, poetry, fantasy writing, music, and dance. All of these themes are supported and renewed by this transit. So there's a sense of universal compassion, peace, and acceptance for all that is, that has great capacity to wash over us in 2022. So gift yourself the space to rest and reflect. This is Pisces. Process your emotions through music and through play, and nurture your dreams and imagination. Give yourself that spaciousness. And there is a sense where there is an opportunity for us to surrender with greater faith and to trust in the unknown. We don't need to have it all figured out. But of course, with Pisces and with all signs, it's important to recognize their duality and their shadow manifestations. And as a sign that's symbolized by two fish swimming in opposite directions, Pisces is known for its incredible duality. So we might feel that in that Pisces as a sign of depth of emotion, while also it is a sign of spiritual transcendence. So Jupiter in Pisces inspires us to travel. This is Jupiter, to travel to the deepest places of the ocean that is within ourselves. But it also inspires us simultaneously, and it encourages us to expand our philosophies through connection with other realms of consciousness, whether that's through fantasy and imagination, through spirituality, music, could be silence, meditation, some sort of retreat. These are all Pisces themes. So it's important to consider that the shadow here with Jupiter and Pisces is that there may be an overemphasis on these themes as well. Jupiter can bring indulgence. So we're talking about emotional indulgence here. Indulging in fantasy, escapism, self-pity, self-loathing, addiction can arise, confusion, lots of confusion with Pisces, Jupiter and Pisces in the shadow. This can be deception, depression, illusion. So it feels wise to be mindful of being overly compassionate, overly forgiving. This could be letting people or things or habits from the past that may be harmful back into your life. And so if you feel yourself getting pulled in by a strong tidal wave of karmic past, let's take a pause. Let's be in silence. If you feel yourself getting pulled in by strong tidal waves of swirling emotions or overwhelming fears, how might you bring your awareness to the smaller details of life? If you feel yourself getting swept away with fantasy, how might you bring your awareness to the day-to-day tasks in front of you? So what I'm bringing in here is Virgo. And in soul-centered astrology, all signs evolve through their polar sign. So we need Virgo this year as we are experiencing these expansions in Pisces. So Virgo, as the polar sign to Pisces, it holds an antidote to the shadow manifestations of Pisces. Virgo is here as a sacred ally in 2022 to help aid us, and particularly those with a lot of Pisces placements or tendencies, or if you have a lot of water in your chart. Because we are expanding and growing the Pisces parts of our heart in our chart this year, and we must not forget Virgo. So when Pisces evolves through Virgo, the many themes include the nurturance of the body, mind, and spirit connection, service and aligned soul work, volunteering. This could be caring for pets, children, and the elderly. Pisces is a sign that is connected to those on the periphery. So this is houseless folks, people in rehab centers, hospitals. Pisces is all signs in one, so it's connected to children and the elderly. And Virgo is about volunteering your services. So volunteering and caring for pets, children, and the elderly, devotion to your craft, loving your digestion, herbal medicine and remedies, creating a supportive schedule and routine for yourself, sobriety, and all forms of holistic healing are here to help us and aid us as we expand Pisces. And so if you have Pisces energy in your chart, whatever planets those are, they're receiving an expansion of blessings and renewal. If you have planets in the water signs, they'll also be really activated this year. And then planets that are in the earth signs are there to support and ground all of the water. I also find that working with the tarot is really helpful when working with or moving through Pisces. And maybe it is that sort of Virgoan ability to manifest the otherworldly through conceptualization and through attention to detail in the material. But this ritual of sitting at one's altar to tune into spirit and to meditate with a tarot card, it offers a form for the Pisces intuition and psychic receptivity to flow through. So speaking of the tarot, you can meditate on the Jupiter and Pisces transit using your cards. And so the card that's associated with Jupiter is the Wheel of Fortune. And what I find interesting about this is that Jupiter is about philosophy. And you see there's four figures, which are the four fixed signs of astrology reading books in the corners of this card. And the card for Pisces is the Moon card, which depicts a path that's going off into the unknown, and there is a howling wolf and a howling dog at the moon in this card. So bring these two cards out as a meditation, or you can look along in the newsletter that I send out. So you can always sign up for the Cosmic Cousins newsletter. Most of what I'm sharing with you is typed out, and there's also pretty pictures in there for you to look along with. But let's go into a little Jupiter and Pisces tarot meditation. So imagine yourself walking down a path in the middle of the night, and it's too dark to see where you're going. So the power of song and prayer is there for you to help you stay calm. And maybe a song arises or a poem arises that you might be able to lean into in this year in 2022. And as you sing this song or you pray and connect to Source, Pisces is connecting to Source and universal consciousness, you release outdated fears and you allow yourself to continue forward on this path. But what we're doing is it's one step at a time, that Virgo attention to the detail of being present and mindful with this moment. But knowing that we are passing through a threshold, as we look off in the distance, we see there's two pillars that we're walking through. And so the more that we lean in with faith and trust and universal love, the stronger the Jupiterian vision is that comes through. And so this year with Jupiter and Pisces, we are gifted with deep insight into uncovering our place in the world, how we fit into the symbolism and the elements and the archetypes of this ever-changing and unfolding plane of existence. So each and every one of us are a part of something grander and bigger. And we all have beautiful, magical offerings to bring here to this planet to offer greater healing. So bring this into the body. Breathe this cosmic truth into your body. Pisces is the water in the body. So feel it pulsate through your circulatory system and the water in your body, and bring it down into the feet, which is also Pisces body part. So we are honoring the spinning of the wheel. May Jupiter and Pisces bring you blessings, deep closure, healing, quiet, prayer, reconnection to your soul. You know, it's making me think of Queen of Pisces, Nina Simone, who offered music as a way of processing the collective emotion. And with Jupiter and Pisces, our Jupiter and Nina Simone, it's making me think of her song Feeling Good. So you might put that on. Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. You know this song? So maybe you listen to this song to invite Jupiter and Pisces in and to activate it as you find yourself in some sort of ritual. And you know, we can always look back to understand these sort of transits too. And this, you know, in my own astrology practice, I find it helpful to look back to the last time we experienced a transit. And this helps me to better understand its themes and invitations. But this practice is not necessarily for everyone. But if you are wanting to deepen your astrology practice, it can be very beneficial. And so if it serves you in this moment, think back to 12 years ago, and this was the last time that Jupiter was in Pisces. So this was the year 2010. This was January through June of 2010, and then September through December of 2010. A similar kind of pattern that we're experiencing this year. And then the first month of the year 2011, January of 2011. So again, the year 2010, January through June of 2010. Think back to this time period. September through December of 2010, and then first month of the new year, 2011, January of 2011. So take yourself back to this time period and consider some of these questions. How might you have experienced an expansion and emphasis around the Pisces themes at that time? And what dialogue would be created between your 2010 self and your 2022 self? Can you sense the thread that unites you, that part of you that transcends time and place? What parts of yourself remain true today? How have you grown spiritually over the last 12 years? So fill your cup up with the gratitude of your accrued spiritual wisdom. You've learned so much over the last 12 years. You've traveled so far, and so we're breathing into this expanse. I'd like to share a personal story about where I was when Jupiter was last in Pisces. And in my own birth chart, I have both Mercury and Jupiter in Pisces. So this marks my Jupiter return. So the last time Jupiter was in Pisces, 2010 to 2011, this was when my anxiety and my panic attacks grew so strong that I dropped out of graduate school. I moved up to New York City to go to grad school, and I made it just a few months, and I found myself getting pulled, this like tidal wave, getting pulled back into my old life that I'd already said bye to. And so I did not know what I was going to do with my life. So I moved back to North Carolina, which is the karmic past of Pisces. And I busted my butt as a server, which is the Virgo polarity at a restaurant. And so eventually, through a series of magical synchronicities, I found a place at the ocean. Hello, Pisces. And so I shared a photo in the newsletter where you'll see it's from the balcony off of my bedroom that overlooked the Sound at Wrightsville Beach. And so there's two light blue chairs that are looking off in the distance. And you'll see a dark blue table with two candles on it. And I was kind of struck by these blue colors because I actually went back into my folder to kind of see what photos were from 2010. And this was the only photo I could find, is this one photo of these two chairs looking off in the distance. And then you'll see pasted on my window is a quote. And this quote is so Jupiter in Pisces. This is what it says. All religions pass, but this will remain, simply sitting in a chair and looking in the distance. All religions pass, but this will remain, simply sitting in a chair and looking in the distance. This is Jupiter in Pisces. Jupiter is religion, and Pisces is that silence of looking in the distance, that wide contemplative lens. You know, Jupiter, if it's religion, and Pisces, if it's everything, you know, this is a time where we are connecting to universal compassion as a philosophy of life. It's all things. And so, it's kind of wild for me, you know, to think that during this time period, I was living at the ocean. And, you know, I used to line the railings of my porch with seashells, and I'd sit out there and I'd write poetry. And I gave myself permission to fully be in the unknown, because I had mapped out what my life was going to be like, going to grad school and then becoming a professor. But the thing is, I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't be an astrologer and a tarot reader. So I gave myself permission to be in the unknown. This happened during Jupiter in Pisces. I remember taking a break from Facebook and electronics. That was before Instagram. But it's interesting because this year I'm taking a break from Instagram and social media. So I needed to disconnect from the world in order to refine myself the last time Jupiter was in Pisces, to touch deeper within than I'd ever traveled before. This was before I even knew about Jupiter in Pisces. So rediscovering this time period is very illuminating for me. And I feel ripples from that time period to now. And so I look back in a journal, and I found a poem that I wrote in 2010. And I'd like to share this poem with you as a nod and an ode to Jupiter in Pisces, because Pisces rules over music and poetry. So I'd like for you to go ahead and bring your awareness to your body and your breath. We'll connect to the Piscean parts of the body, which is the water in the body, the feet. And I'll offer you this poem from my past self, from the last time Jupiter was in Pisces. Something's in this work of art. We are where things are real. We search for answers in the stars, but it's on the ground is where we feel. We're all alone, it seems sometimes. I'm looking back, no regrets. And all our lovers will pass the time, but it's our mother and our heart we shall not forget. Impermanence, patience, faith, intuition. Beauty promised too, salt tears of forgiveness. Questions we believe breathe night's strength universe. Answers bring fright, fight, guilt, pain, agony. Silent time. Rain, peace, life, human family. How can we believe and still not see? Sometimes the water makes it rough. Sometimes the water may surround. And sometimes it's never always enough. There's always time to find higher ground. Ground, ground, ground. Again, Happy New Year to you, Cosmic Cousins. Happy 2022, our Lover's Year, and happy Jupiter in Pisces. If you'd like to deepen your practice with the tarot in the new year, I have a 6-month ritual immersion that is open for enrollment. It's called the Brooklyn Fools Tarot Journey. This will be the 7th year that I'm leading it. And during our time together, we will intimately touch base with the archetypes that live within and without. And so we'll travel from the Fool all the way to the World card. And so 22 weeks, this journey is designed to deepen your tarot practice in an integrative and holistic way unlike any other. So if you're longing to connect with the philosophy of the Fool's Journey through a soul-centered lens, then please take my hand and leap with me into the unknown world that awaits. So there are a few more spots open for enrollment. I've extended the early bird discount until January 10th, and the journey begins on January 12th, which is coming up. So please join me if you feel called. I would be honored to be a fool with you in this new year. And also, as always, I have openings for 90-minute astrology readings and tarot readings here in the new year. And it's such an honor and joy for me to connect with you and hold space for you in this way. The readings are over Zoom. We can do visual or audio readings. And if you'd like to be supported in that sort of way, there's links in the show notes for both astrology and tarot readings. And also, if you'd like to support me and my offerings, you can become a Patreon supporter for Cosmic Cousins. And next time I'm going to read the Patreon supporter names the next time that we gather to thank them. So thank you if you are a Patreon supporter. And for the Cancer full moon that's coming up later in January, I will also be sending a special thank you gift to the Patreon supporters as well. And so I'm wishing for you a happy and blessed new year. If you'd like to leave some love to the podcast, you could leave some reviews, some comments, some stars, share it with a friend or family member, loved one that you think might benefit from my offerings. And yes, I wanted to say that as we move into the new year, we might be shifting some of the times that we gather. I'm feeling a call towards expanding beyond just new and full moon podcast episodes and focusing more on larger collective themes. And so it might be that instead of meeting on the new and the full moon, I will be releasing episodes still twice a month, but we'll be focusing on, outer planets, like what is the invitation of Neptune and Pisces for us, and what is the invitation for the North Node and Taurus. So I may be shifting it up just a little bit, but please know I will still be releasing this episode every other week, twice a month, as we continue forward in the new year, and I'll keep you up to date on that. We will do a Cancer full moon episode, the Cancer full moon, we're building towards that now, is January 17th, 2022 is the Cancer full moon, and so I'll release an episode around that time period. And so again, I'm wishing you all well as we are crossing into this new year. And yeah, take sweet care, cousins, and remember, deep breaths.